Let's put to one side then what's happening in South Africa. Let's quote you from last Tuesday when you were on the programme with me. You said concerns are overstated and we will have a great Christmas. Is that still the case?
I think we will have a much better Christmas than last year because of the vaccination level, both the overall vaccination level, but particularly the impact of the booster campaign. And we saw on Saturday, just in one day, 900,000 people get their booster. And I do think, of course, you've heard it from the Health Secretary over the weekend. I'd echo that. People will need to be careful and cautious. But I do think that, again, subject to the data, and it's always under review, that we're in a better position to enjoy Christmas with loved ones this year.
Will we have any more restrictions between now and Christmas Day?
Well, I just can't make hard, fast guarantees because, as I said, we follow...
I mean, you said we were going to have a great Christmas last week, and now you're saying a good Christmas, but I can't even guarantee that there are going to be any fewer restrictions or more restrictions.
Well, I think because there's two things. First of all, we're in a much different place. We're in a much stronger place because of the resilience of our communities, because of the high take-up of the vaccine. That's something that has gone very well, not just the overall vaccine rates, but the booster. And we're really supercharging that through to the end of this month and through to Christmas. So that gives us an extra layer of resilience. The rules as they currently are the best mitigation strategy that we've got. But, of course, there is this time lag in the data. We know Omicron is spreading fast. We don't yet know the severity. And we're reliant on seeing that data come through, and it comes through day by day.
Yeah, and we have to listen to what the scientists are saying. Last week, the scientists were saying that the infections could be as high as 200,000 per day before the end of the year. And when I spoke to the Health Secretary on Monday, he was saying 200,000 that day, more or less. We have to, that's now been quietly dropped. We have to change these figures all the time, as you said, depending on the data. How bad is it this Monday as opposed to last Monday?
Well, so just to say, there's the difference between modelling, which relies on certain assumptions, and the hard data that's coming through, which is why, as I said, you can't make hard and fast guarantees. We have to track the data as it comes through. Which bit of data are you asking me about for today?
I'm asking you about how many infections you think we've had today, or yesterday, I should say, rather, because obviously we don't know today. We've only just started today. Not everybody's up as early as us.
No, no. The latest data shows, and I've got it here because, of course, it's relevant and I know people are interested, 82,000 latest daily cases.
It's a lot less than 200,000, isn't it?
That's and 900 hospitalisations and 45 deaths. That's overall. We talked earlier about the Omicron. But look, a lot of the modelling that is being thrown around is the worst case scenario, which, of course, we're duty-bound to consider. But we ultimately come back to this point. You have to test the data in real time against real cases and see that lag between spread of cases, hospitalisations, and what does it mean for severity in terms of, tragically, the number of deaths.
Yeah, modelling that's been thrown around. Should we take it with a pinch of salt?
No, but we should test it very carefully and rigorously, and that's what we're doing.
OK, let me ask you about a question that actually my son put to me, and I didn't know the answer, but you're much cleverer than me, so you will know. If you test positive for COVID, and then every day you have a lateral flow test that you register that's positive until the infection's gone through your body, every day that's registered, is that registered as a different case?
No, it shouldn't be, because it should attach to you. But the truth is, I'd have to look at the methodology that they use. But I would have thought that should attract to you because you register it under your name.
Yeah, so it could, in theory, be 10 times higher than the actual figures. So, but you don't think that's the case?
Look, it's a very good methodological question, as usual. I would want to just defer to what DHSC say about the way that they count, but it doesn't seem right that that would be counted for the obvious reasons.
Yes, we'll have to look at that. Reports suggesting 10 ministers are questioning the scientific advice. Are you one of them?
We always, all of us, question the advice, and I don't think that should be presented in some sort of tectonic opposition to the scientists. The scientists will tell you that they are constantly testing the evidence and the advice amongst themselves, let alone with politicians. So it's quite right that we get the balance right. The one thing I'd say is right the way throughout, before we went into lockdown, when we went into lockdown, I remember looking at the 5 tests when we were in lockdown and we were thinking about how we could come out. We always look at the COVID impact, the non-COVID health impacts, the impacts on the economy, jobs and livelihoods, but also the social impacts as well. And that's the paradigm that we've had throughout this pandemic, and we still do.
So you are one of them?
No, sorry, I fully support the approach that the government has taken so far. But it's absolutely right. I mean, it'd be odd if Cabinet and ministers weren't, in the meetings we have, testing the data and the approach. Actually, that's very healthy.
Absolutely. That's why I was asking you if you were one of them.
Yeah, but what I don't do is bandy around. I support the approach the Prime Minister and the government has taken. I think these are finely balanced calls, but I totally support what we're doing, including what Rishi has done and the Treasury have done to support businesses. What I don't do is have those rigorous discussions which are rightly take place in private in the Cabinet and then bandy them around, because, to be honest with you, and I'm not knocking what you're doing, it leads to mischievous media reporting. And actually what you should have in government is really robust debate and then discipline when you take decisions, and that's what we're doing.
OK. I think there's another COBRA meeting today, isn't there? The Prime Minister wasn't at the one yesterday. I believe he's going to be at the one today. Will you be there as well?
I'll turn up to any of the meetings to which I'm invited to.
Have you been invited?
There's a difference between COBRA and COVID-0, but allow me, I'm going into the office shortly afterwards, and I'll be available for any meetings that I'm needed for.
OK. Here comes a question about that photograph that's on the front pages of the papers today. The PM enjoying wine and cheese. I know you're going to say that it was a business meeting, etc., etc. When was the last time you took your wife and baby to a business meeting?
Well, in fairness, I don't live in the place of work where I work. So number 10 Downing Street and the garden is used for work. It was used throughout that week. I think the PM is there seen just after the press conference he'd done, and people, folk at home will remember the daily press conferences, and he'd had meetings earlier, I think, with the Health Secretary earlier in the day or in the week. And you can see staff there. And look, so it's fundamentally a place of work. So this was not a question of whether...
You can't take your baby to work, especially when we're in the middle of a lockdown and a COVID pandemic, surely?
Well, but Kate, as you know, number 10 is also the residence of the Prime Minister. He's got a very young family, and I think if you begrudge his wife coming down in a break from the business of the day,
I don't think that's right. She's not just popped her head round the door, has she? She sat down with the baby, nursing the baby. There's wine on the table. There's cheese there. There's at least 14, 15 other people in the garden.
And that's because it's a place of work. They're all in suits, or predominantly in informal attire. Well, the picture I saw had people...
No, it's on the screen at the moment. Have a look.
Well, look, I think a large number of them... to be honest with you, look, the Prime Minister is in a suit, the officials there. But look, the point I'd make is this.
Have a look.
Well, so some of them have taken their jackets off. But Kay...
So it's only a business meeting if you've got a suit on?
Well, now you're changing your tune.
No, I'm asking you. I'm trying to see your point of view,
well,
Deputy
then let me answer.
Minister.
Let me answer, Kay. You normally do. You're normally fair about these things. This is a place of work, but it's also the residence of the Prime Minister. And sometimes, as in many work situations, particularly given the pressures that the number 10 team are under, they might have a drink after the formal business has ended. That is not anything to do with the social mixing rules, and it's consistent with the guidance at the time.
Let me ask you this then. Why would somebody take a picture of a business meeting?
Well, who knows? But there's been all sorts of pictures like that flying around. Clearly someone with an animus, but I don't know, is the short answer to the question.
But if you were in number 11 and you saw people gathering in the garden, you wouldn't think, oh, that's a lovely picture. It's like a Rembrandt. I'll just take a quick photograph of that.
I don't think it looks like a Rembrandt. I totally agree.
No, it doesn't. It looks like people gathering when they shouldn't be. And so people at number 11, being a little bit mischievous, are taking a photograph of it and thinking, I'll put that in my back pocket for when I need it.
I couldn't possibly comment on someone's motivation. What I can say is number 10, including the garden, is a place of work, and they were there having worked.
Can you accept that it looks a bit dodge?
It looks a bit... Look, I certainly take your point that perception with the public is very important. What I would say is I'd point to and let people look at the photo for themselves. Number 10 is a place of work, also the Prime Minister's home, and they use the garden for work meetings, and that's what you can see. OK. Do you anticipate being called back to Parliament before Christmas? I don't anticipate it, but the PM has been very clear that if there were changes in the regulations, that would require a decision of Parliament. OK. I'm always keen to hear what you have to say, Deputy Prime Minister. I'm sorry if you felt that I was talking over you. Hopefully I'll see you again soon. I'm sure I won't see you before Christmas. Have a very lovely, peaceful one. Thank you, with the family.